Hi dear friends, this is Bob Hatton, this is The Encourager. Let's continue in this part 3 of this very exciting story about this great plan that God has got for the world, that God has got for his people, that God has got for you and me. We're part of this big painting that God has been painting now for the last few thousand years, and this is so exciting. We see this guy Moses, who has now infiltrated the house of Pharaoh. That's where he's growing up. God has got something, getting something ready. The people have cried to him, and now he's done something. He's taken this guy, he's taken this little baby, and this little baby has infiltrated the house of Pharaoh, the house of the king. And that's where he grows up. He's educated in all the wisdom of Egypt. He goes to the University of Thebes or wherever he lived. He is a very special person. He's a very important person in the Egyptian community, in the upper class Egyptian community. He's a very important person, and he has influence, and surely he can use this influence for the good of God's people. And I suppose one day he would notice that when he spoke Egyptian, he could express himself very well, very eloquent. He mastered the language, he understood the thinking, he felt at home in the culture. But every time he looked into the mirror, he must have thought, there's something different here. I don't look like the other guys. Maybe he had darker skin, maybe his hair was darker, maybe he had brown eyes and all the others had blue eyes. I don't know, but he looked different. And in the end, he found out that he didn't actually come from the people of the Egyptians. He had been brought in as a little boy. He was adopted. He was adopted into the king's family. And he realized, though, that the family where he came from were suffering at the hands of his adoptive family. And that must have brought him into some kind of a conflict. And the Bible tells us in Hebrews chapter 11, that's in the New Testament, that was through faith that Moses refused to be known as the son of Pharaoh's daughter, and he chose rather to suffer with his people rather than live together with the Egyptians. And I guess he realized that he's a person with destiny, that the call of God was on his life, that God was going to do something with him. And this is exactly what his parents had seen when he was a little baby. They saw that there's something very special with this kid, and that's why they hid him. That's why they risked their lives so that he would come through. And so he's gone back now to the place where he came from, and one day he saw one of the Hebrews being mistreated, ill-treated by one of the overseers of the Egyptians, one of the slave masters, one of the taskmasters. So Moses goes there and he tells him to stop, and then they have an argument, and Moses had a problem with anger at this time. So he socked this Egyptian, he hit him and he killed him, and he hid the body. The next day, at this point, maybe Israel or the Hebrews, they could have made an uprising. They could have a revolution, but that's not what happened. The next day, he saw two Hebrews fighting and arguing, and he went there and he tried to mediate. He wanted to bring peace. He wanted to, reconcile them together. But they said to him, "Where have you come from? Are you going to kill us like you killed the Egyptian yesterday?" And he realizes that what he has done is known. It won't be very long before the Egyptian authorities realize that Moses has killed one of theirs, and he'll be in deep trouble. So Moses decides he's going to run away, and he leaves Egypt and he goes very far away. He goes into the desert of Midian, and that is actually today where Saudi Arabia is. And there he joins a family. He gets married to one of the girls, and he joins a family of Bedouins, a family of nomads that are shepherds, of pastoralists, and that's where he fits in. And it seems like the story is now ended with Moses. And there's a stamp on his dossier, and it says, deliverer of Israel, boom, failed. Well, that's not actually what happened, is it? Moses hadn't failed. He didn't do everything right, and he shouldn't have killed that Egyptian taskmaster, but it happened. But God is not flustered by this. It's not suddenly that God's plan's not going to work, because God knew that all these things would happen. And what's happened now is that Moses has just started the second part of his education. The first part, it was in the king's house, and he learned that he was an important person, that he was somebody. And now for the next 40 years, he's going to learn that he's a nobody, and he's a shepherd. He's one of the lowest of the low. And why is that? It's because God is getting ready for him to be the leader of the people of God, and he'll be a leader like no other leader ever before and ever since. In fact, the Bible says that when Jesus comes, Jesus will be a prophet like Moses. It didn't say Moses is like Jesus, but Jesus is like Moses. Now, what is happening in your life at the moment? Perhaps you're not seeing anything. Perhaps you're a little bit disappointed because you prayed, you expected God to come, and nothing has happened. Nothing has happened. Nothing has come. It looks like everything is in standstill. You're not going forward. There's nothing happening. Let me just encourage you that God's hand is still upon you, and he's just getting other things ready. The people in Egypt, the Hebrews, they were saying, where is God? We've been praying for ages and God's not doing anything. He's been working for 80 years getting this guy, Moses, ready to come and lead the people of Israel out of Egypt. He has been working. He's been preparing. And I don't know where you are at the moment, but let me tell you one thing I know: God is working in your life. And it might not be 40 or 80 years that you've got to wait for, but God always has to prepare stuff. And it's normally only when you look back you can see that his hand was there. So let me encourage you that not to be discouraged, because God is working in your life. God has not forgotten you. God is there. So with this, I'll say goodbye for today. I wish you a very good day. God's blessing with you. God's blessing during this week. And I know we're in a very difficult time as far as the corona crisis is concerned, and this virus is spreading around. So I do pray that you will keep safe and that you will keep healthy. Please keep out of harm's way and be careful with what you do. God bless you. See you again. You're Bob Hatton, your encourager.